Hey guys, how you doing? It's Jeff, and today we're actually going to do take two of my weekend in review. Now, part of this is going to be some stuff about the Wonder Woman trailer, the new Ghostbuster trailer, the passing of a Star Trek legend, and something that's kind of a hot topic on Twitter and other people right now, and definitely not for kids under the age of 9, let alone 13, 18. So this one, this is not for little kids. So as you can see right here in this thing right here, this is not meant for kids. And I will, when we get to that point, I will definitely sound off, and this will reappear one more time. But anyways, here we go. Now let's talk first off the passing of a Star Trek legend, Mr. Rene Auberjonois. I believe that's how you say his last name. If I butchered it, I am sorry. I don't speak any language outside of English, American English at that. So if I mispronounce Mr. Rene's name, I do sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, apologize. But he passed this weekend, and let's be real. The man had a legacy. This man had a career before Star Trek Deep Space Nine and even after Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But I will forever know him as Constable Odo. Now, when the series first started, I wasn't the biggest fan of Odo. Sure, he had a cool gimmick, and he was kind of that gruff policeman constable that wasn't in love. But as the series went on and the series grew, Odo grew right along with it, and he grew into someone, especially when he started getting along with Quark. I couldn't wait to see Odo and Quark, or just see Odo in general. And one of my favorite scenes is when he finally professes his love to Kira and kisses her right on the promenade in front of everybody after, hanging out with Vic and getting some self-confidence. Oh my God, it was amazing. And Mr. Rene's performance was just beautiful. Odo was definitely one of the best characters in Star Trek, and it was completely in due to Mr. Rene Abroujonis doing what he does best. It was awesome to watch him as Odo. I will forever be grateful for his performance as Odo, and I always know if I get sad and want to see him again, I just gotta load in an episode of DS9, have a smile on my face, and enjoy. So yeah, that's two of Star Trek Deep Space Nine alumni who died this year. The other one who played Mr. Nog. Yeah, it's just been a hard year for DS9. So thank you, Mr. Auberjonois. You have a legacy few will ever match. Sorry about that noise. That's my windshield wipers being squeaky. But yeah, there's that. Next, let's talk some trailers. First off, Wonder Woman. It looked good. Gal Gadot looks freaking awesome. But I have that cautious optimism. It's going to look awesome. It's going to sound awesome. But I think the story's going to be all over the place. And yes, I will admit, Wonder Woman roping the lightning and riding in it. Talk about ride the lightning. I'm sorry. That looks boss. Especially if they do it right and they put it in the right context. I'm all in. But as far as the rest of the story and the reason why Steve Trevor's back and all that, yeah, to me, that's going to be a little dicey. So there is that. I'm a little bit hesitant on the story. But the shots look good. The fight composition looks excellent. Gal Gadot looks completely believable as Wonder Woman. It's just going to be one of those, I don't know if the story's going to hold up. We'll have to see. I'm not going to throw shade at it yet, but it's definitely interesting. Now we got to go to the other elephant in the room. Ghostbusters Afterlife. Oh boy. And as a lot of other people have said, this has a major Stranger Things vibe going on. I mean, it looked like it's basically ripping off Stranger Things as far as tone, feel, and all that. But it definitely seems like, a progression. I mean, I love the fact that the kids are like, finding this stuff, and the guy goes, "Whoa, you got this? Like, what, your daddies and all that never told you about this?" It's been 30 years since the events of like Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. And according to the story, there hasn't been a ghost sighting in 30 years, so Ghostbusters kind of went away. It's not shocking that younger kids of today's year would have no clue who the Ghostbusters is. It was kind of one of those cultural phenomena that when it went away, it kind of fell out of the cultural lexicon. Now, another millennial reviewer, if you don't follow him on Twitter, go check him out. He was thinking that the kid who finds all this stuff is Pete Venkman's grandson. I'm like, no. This is Spangler's grandkid. This kid's a dead ringer for a young Harold Ramis. Dead ringer. Mannerisms and all. I mean, I could definitely buy this kid as the grandson of Harold Ramis. Without a doubt. And the fact that these kids are tooling around the Ecto-1, finding the Ghostbusters packs and all this stuff, and, you know, it definitely seems like a newer generation finding the older people stuff and kind of the problems that the older people left behind and having to deal with it. So it definitely looks better already than the Ghostbusters 2016. Does it look perfect? Does it look totally, completely awesome? That remains to be seen, because like I said, I'm not the biggest Stranger Things fan. I never really watched it, never really got into it. It really isn't really my thing, so I'm probably going to have a harder time than most getting into this. But it definitely seems like a passing of the torch movie, and one that's definitely being handled with a lot more care while still... I mean, don't get me wrong, the trailer made me giggle and laugh in a few places, and the callbacks, the remembrance of where this movie is coming from is definitely strong with this movie, and I have to give it props for that. So it's definitely steeped in the nostalgia and the lore, and that's a good thing to have well endowed into this movie, because that's one thing that was completely missing from Ghostbusters 2016. It's like it took a big vapid shit on the legacy of Ghostbusters. This is trying to honor it. Honestly, here's my final take on the Ghostbusters one. It definitely feels a lot like Top Gun Maverick. It's remembering the fact that it's 30 years afterwards, and it's trying to take careful care of the story and realize, hey, we realize it's been 30 years. We're picking up the story kind of where we left off and where our characters are now. Of course, Harold Ramis is no longer with us, which is a sad tragedy, but at least they're taking careful care of his legacy, which means a lot to a fan like me. And I'm sure to other people, so we'll have to see where it goes. But that's all on those trailers. Okay, so what else do we got here? Oh, quick movie review. It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Oh my God. This is gold. They took such careful care with Mr. Rogers' legacy. And Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers, oh my God. At certain parts, he had me in tears. Maybe not like dripping down tears, but maybe, a tear at the corner of my eye carefully dropping down. I mean, I teared up. My wife was bawling through most of the movie, just how good and how meaningful, and just Tom Hanks just absorbed Mr. Rogers with the flip on the hand of him catching his shoots, the way he talked, the way he acted, the way he moved. At certain times, I forgot I was looking at Tom Hanks, and I thought I was looking at Mr. Rogers. That's how much Tom Hanks absorbed that role. It was absolutely beautiful. It is definitely Oscar nomination worthy. I mean, I know everybody thinks, Joaquin Phoenix should be, getting the Oscar for, Best Actor, but Tom Hanks just made a good run for Joaquin's money. This was magical. And it was also behind the scenes look. I mean, even Tom Hanks says, Mr. Russell, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I get angry. I just try to find creative outlets or ways to, let that anger go without really doing anything. And just the way he interacts with the person who ends up writing his story, it's just beautiful. It has inclusion without throwing it in our faces, because the main protagonist guy, besides Mr. Rogers, who's doing the story on Mr. Rogers, his wife's black, and he's a brand new father. He's got issues with his own father, the reporter. In fact, it's quite violent until they, yes, they do make up. Yes, it's that, they come to terms. The father has, come to terms with what he did, and Mr. Rogers does help. But the son has to come to terms with losing his mother so young. I mean, I'm trying not to give spoilers, but it's based on the true story of the guy who actually wrote the story about Mr. Rogers. So you can definitely look that up. It's absolutely wonderful, from the set designs to them using Mr. Rogers style thing to flying from plane, going from cars, going across the bridge into Pittsburgh. I mean, it was absolutely wonderful. This movie blew it out of the park. I'm giving it a solid 10 out of 10. It is a heartfelt story about Mr. Rogers and a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I can't praise this movie enough. This might be the best movie I've seen all year. Quite possibly the best. This might edge out Avengers Endgame, but for all different reasons. This had so much character, heart, soul. It was beautiful. You can take the kids and they'll understand. And just seeing Tom Hanks, behind the scenes of the show, Tom Hanks as the puppet, as he's doing it, all of it was just so great. Every actor turned in a stellar performance, but Tom Hanks did run away with the show. So, if you haven't seen A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, I highly suggest you go see it, and maybe bring a couple of tissues with you, because even the most hardened, testosterone-filled guys who grew up as kids with Mr. Rogers, you're going to tear up. I guarantee it. If you have any fond memories of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, you're probably going to tear up. You may not bawl like a baby, but you'll get misty-eyed. You may have a tear or two. I guarantee it. It is that powerful. It is that well acted. It is that well done. Bless their hearts, they did an amazing movie. Okay, I've been ranting and I've been shilling enough for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, but I can't recommend that enough. Now, we're going to go into the last part of the weekend, and this is not going to be so safe for kids. This is definitely not even for people under the age of 18. So at this point, if you're under the age of 18, you can't really talk about porn and all that. Check out now. This ain't for you. Now, for everybody who haven't known, this ain't left wing. This is swinging way to the right, and this is a backlash I've been expecting for a while. It just finally happened. And it's the same stupid logic SJWs are trying to do with hate speech when it comes to pornography. Now, look, I don't care if you do, you don't. I don't care. It's an expression. We have the freedom to express it, whether it's porn or not. Whether you watch it, don't watch it, love it, hate it, use it to excess or don't at all, we have the right to make it and consume it. Whether the Puritans on the right like it or not. This is the same porn scare they tried in the fucking 90s. They cannot ban it because it can't be enforced. As Sticks Hexenhammer put in his own about 20-minute video, look at the current drug war. They still can't enforce the fucking drug war. Just like in the 1920s, we tried to enforce prohibition, found out we couldn't, we had to do another constitutional amendment to undo the prohibition against alcohol. This is just certain stuff. You cannot ban it and make it stick. They'll just make it in Europe. We'll run a VPN to those who want it can still consume it and watch it anyways. And it won't stay on their computer, because not only can they do it under a VPN, they can also do it on, incognito, where it doesn't record their history of where they've been. You'll never find out. You'll never know. All you're going to do is drive this crap underground and propagate it even further. Every time you try to take a market like this and destroy it, you drive it underground, you make it that much more taboo, you make people want it even more, and it spreads it even further. Sticks Hexenhammer said, look, if you want to make this a social movement and try to change the social fabric of the world and try to get rid of pornography, I wish you the best of luck. It probably won't happen. Because I put this picture up, and I've put this up plenty of times to all the people who saying we need to ban porn. You don't want to watch porn, don't watch it. You don't want to do this, don't this. If you don't that. You don't want your rights taken away, fine. Stop trying to take other people's rights away. Look, I have said it before and I'll say it again. I have bled for my rights. Whether they're for good, they're for ill, whether it's about burning the flag, this, that, and the other. I don't care what right it is. If it's guaranteed under the Constitution and the law, I don't want it taken away. I've bled for it. It is my choice whether I do it or not. And maybe, just maybe, if you don't want lots of kids watching this, maybe it's time for the parents to step up and start putting in parental controls and governing what our kids can and cannot do. That's what parents are supposed to do. And when I have my son and he starts getting of the age where he can do that, believe me, he's going to have his own account. I'm going to have that crap on lockdown. And he is not going to have my password to be able to circumvent it. I am going to make sure in my household, my son's on lockdown for that kind of stuff. It's up to the parents. Stop treating the government like mommy and freaking daddy. They never get it right, and it ends up making it worse. Yes, in that respect, I am definitely either libertarian or conservative. Government stepping in to be mommy and daddy doesn't work. It never has to work. It never will work. It's also why, on a side tangent, I'm against socialism. Because it requires absolute faith in the government to do the right thing with the means of everything. Name a government, including the U.S. government, that ever got that right. I'll wait right here. Because you won't find one. Governments never get it right. They mean well, but they always screw it up in the execution. It should be up to society, parents, community to do it. Always do it at the lowest level. Now, on the flip side of that morality argument, I mean, it's somewhat of a lawful. People use stuff like porn to excess. Yes, they acquire an addiction and you start having medical issues. Yes, but that's no different than alcoholism. You know, addiction to cigarettes, addiction to drugs. And instead of stigmatizing, how about you say, hey, you got a problem. I want to encourage you to get help, and I'm not going to sit here and lambast you while you do it and call you a bad person, a sinful person, this, that, and the other. If you want to help people, you got to encourage them to do it, and you can't stigmatize them for it. Kind of like what Styx Hexenhammer said. I definitely agree with him on that regard. So, and there's one last thing we got to talk about, and I'll wrap this up because I've been going about 17 minutes. This is a long one. I apologize. But I saw this other thing on Twitter about drag queens coming in to read to little kids, 3 or 4, in daycare. I'm sorry. I'm with the conservatives on this one. That's freaking child abuse. Also, to all those people who think it's stunning and brave, a 4-year-old child is not going to understand what you're trying to teach them. They don't get it. They don't have the mental facilities to comprehend the lesson you're trying to teach them. It won't work. It's not going to do anything. It's not stunning and brave. You're just trying to force something down their throats they don't understand. That's why it's child abuse. If you want kids to understand, when you start teaching them stuff like, I don't know, sex ed, maybe start including that kind of stuff. And just, give them the information and give them the warning of people like to express themselves, but try to make sure you understand yourself and do your own voyage of self-discovery before you try to express yourself like this, because it can lead to X, Y, and Z, like gender dysphoria, where people think they are the other gender and then get completely utterly confused, don't know what the hell they are. They start doing sex, reassignment and all that, and realize, oh crap, maybe I'm not, and then they get all damn confused. Look. Stop. This is on the kids' part, and especially with pornography. Stop trying to ram sexuality down the throats of children. They don't understand what you're trying to tell them. Wait until they're older, have started reaching the age of enlightenment where they can start processing their own thoughts and their own opinions. Then give them this kind of information. I have no problem with teaching kids about transsexuals, drag queens, and all that, but only when they can comprehend the information and come to an informed decision by themselves, or at least start to. Teaching them when they're 5 or 6, you're going to confuse the shit out of them. They have no clue what the hell you're trying to tell them. It's too complex for simple, innocent little minds to understand. That's what the left doesn't get. Let kids be kids. You can start teaching them that later in life when they actually understand what you're trying to tell them. So, that's it on that. But anyways, that's the weekend review. Sorry it's a 20-minute video, but there was just a lot to chew through this weekend, and my God, from the left and the right, You all are losing your damn minds for completely different reasons, and the centrist libertarian in me is going, what the hell is the matter with you all? But I'm Jeff. I'm the Wolf. I'm also a libertarian. That's the weekend review from my point of view. I'll catch you all next time.